What's good with YouTube? You already know. Big Flacco from ACP, a convict's perspective, pushing the hard line, hoping everybody has a positive and productive weekend. I got a banger for you guys, man, but before we get into it, man, do me a favor. Hit that like button, hit that comment, subscribe, do all those things to help support your boy, and hit that bell notification for future fire content. So, you guys have been tapped in for a long time to my channel and other channels, and you've heard all the stories of Salinas, San Jose, different areas, right? Tulare County. And, I'm one individuals that was tapped in as far as functioning two of the main areas, probably in Northern California, under the NS Bandera and NS control, and that being San Jose and Salinas. Now, I had years of working in both these areas, man, and under their domain and different carnales, and had my own jurisdiction at times in what I was doing. Now, this video, I'm going to describe the differences and which one I favored more than the other, okay? Now, a lot of people are currently under the hype that Salinas is like the motherland and like the mecca of the NF, which in a lot of senses is true, right? But San Jose has its right to its stake of claim because for a long time it was one of the main, almost headquarters for a minute until the indictments that happened in the 90s. Okay, there's 4 areas that have really had strong control over NF activities for years, and that was Fresno in the 70s, Stockton, then San Jose, and of recent Salinas. Now, what has always tarnished San Jose's reputation was the 1990 indictments, right? With Spankio and Wevel and Silent and Lucky and all the people who had flipped during that time, including Chente Oro, was a general. That kind of was the demise of San Jose at that time. Now, Salinas has had its issues as well. I think what's enabled them to weather the storm a lot of times was it being a more smaller area compared to San Jose. Therefore, it was easy for certain carnales to go out there and regain control and refocus the gente. Okay, because in the late 90s, they had their own civil war going on. It wasn't until, like I said, after Operation Black Widow and things settled down and certain carnales hit the streets, that Salinas was back on track as far as being recognized as a, like headquarters in some sense. See, there's no street headquarters, okay? That's all just something that people sometimes would give, okay, Salinas. Because Salinas at times had certain carnales that had high-ranking status that they were able to go over there and take control of certain regiments based upon the fact that there was no one there, or have certain regiments report directly to them because of an individual. And a lot of it has to do when Paki was there, okay? Because Paki was a captain out there in the streets that was put in charge of basically all the regiments, especially since the generals were now incommunicado. Prior to all that, we got to remember that they were coming off the MC situation. San Jose was coming off the Brown Bob situation, and it seemed like the state of Northern California was going through its own little issues, especially with the Ashley and Huerito and all those individuals falling off at that time. Now, I first was working with Chico Rose and was appointed through the GOP, through all the way down to Ashley to report to Chico Rose, and that Chico didn't have no authority to give me any jurisdiction as far as to go take anybody out or anything like that. My whole thing was just to generate money and have a working relationship with Chico until a carnal got out there to the street that I was waiting for. At the time of Operation Black Widow, when Chico Rose had got snatched up in it, I became really close with him and was one of his number one workers out there. Like, he bypassed a lot of individuals that I was supposed to go through, and felt that that they weren't going to do me justice, that I was already way more up to par than all these individuals. So I started having a more working relationship with him, okay? And that transitioned into everything that happened after them all getting hemmed up, and Corny and Skip and Goose putting all of us into different crews at that time. During that time frame, me and another brother, man, I'm just gonna say out of Mountain View, were pretty much being utilized and being put out there on Front Street to take care of business for the San Jose Regiment at that time, as far as doing all the dirty work, put it that way. We had to get together with BMLs and EHP at that time. We had to do some collections, and I even had to have some homeboys from my hood take up on certain homeboys from San Jose that owed money, because that was the message that was told to be sent, to have these dudes smashed on. And a lot of it I didn't want to do, but I was being directed to do so. I grabbed some individuals I knew and had them handle it. Now, my first experience, like I said, with San Jose was, I was working with someone from Salinas, and some of the brothers from San Jose that were out there I had known, and a lot of them kind of felt the wayside as far as when shit got tough, they weren't there. So it was a lot of work, and was still inexperienced but learning. Had a crew already up. Was operating, and I was working with with Skip's nephew at that time, real closely. Me and him became very close. That in the aftermath, when I went in on a violation, I came out. I ended up being plugged in with Salinas on special assignment. And that special assignment was to help them move their dope, because that was what I did. I made money, I set crews up, and I was able to get manpower and rally them, to want to work and to, get to work. I had squads, and when I was working with Salinas, the thing that was cool is they didn't really pry into too much into what we were doing. I was helping out the East Bay at that time with work and whatnot, and at the same time I was doing my own thing, and I had some people that were working with us, and we started to have a lot of manpower that were from San Jose that were working with us. Those that were working under Salinas at that time that were in San Jose were all the ones I brought with me, okay, or Skip's nephew brought. And so he took care of all that manpower part and the resources. And what I used to do is I did all the communications as far as the channeling, whether it was to prison or to Salinas. And this is no lie, we functioned under 4 different regiment commanders from Salinas at that time. And we were not being micromanaged because they were over there in Salinas doing their thing. So there was things that were going on in San Jose that we knew who was in charge of San Jose at that time, but we were allowed to operate out there. But there were certain things where we had to pump our brakes or needed to pump our brakes. And sometimes we'd have to have communications with the regiment commander out there in San Jose, who I knew personally well as well. And I know at times he was more, how you say it? Hey, what's the best way to go about it? I think he kind of felt like at times I was overstepping jurisdiction, and I was kind of maybe a little bit of a headache at times because we were sometimes 2 steps ahead of what they were doing, but vice versa, sometimes they were 2 steps ahead. And we also had a venture project that was supposed to go on between us and them that was unbeknown to Salinas, which was to, have a cook some methamphetamine at the time. And that whole thing became a disaster, and eventually they had to come a little bit out of pocket for what was lost. In any event, I preferred working with Salinas because I knew I had the backing of whatever we were doing out there from, carnales that had rank at that time. Whereas San Jose, it was a little bit different, man. A lot of those dudes that were being bestowed authority were individuals that hadn't been to the shoe and were getting recruited out there on the streets. So it was kind of, a little bit of ego trip, a little bit of a fucking pissing contest from time to time. Then when Weecher from Saho stepped out, okay, he was on the run, absconded from parole, and they were looking for him, and I assisted him into me catching the case. And everybody from Salinas thought I was washed, and not washed as far as, my career was done. No, that I was going to be doing a lot of time. Ended up bailing out, and around that time, that's when Boxer from San Fran was out there in San Jose, and J-Lo, Silencio's wife at the time, ended up putting us back in touch with each other. So I didn't get to experience too much about how Boxer was doing his thing in San Jose, but he was doing some big shit out there, man, but it didn't last too long. So lo and behold, I did my time, came out, and plugged in with the SJ Regiment this time instead of Salinas. And like I said, it was a little bit more different. Less rules and structure, and it was more about generating money. You know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff that was being ran out there in San Jose was like, it focused around the whole facet of money first before anything else. And this is when Salinas, and particularly Pocky, started to spread out the Salinas Regiment into different areas, like the East Bay, Los Banos, Merced, different areas, putting people in charge, delegating them a responsibility, or just tapping in with someone from that area that was sent out to establish things in that area. I felt like Salinas had everything more, structured, organized, and, You know, you were rewarded for the work that you put in, as well as the difference with San Jose was just anybody could pretty much fall and file as long as they were generating income, and there was just too many loose links. I felt this is one thing that people I've never told in my story. When I came out in 2005, I had asked Silver to reach out, to set channels that I'm stepping home and I wanted to plug back in with Salinas. I even sent my phone number, codes, and all that to Silver, and Silver never got the information to where it was needed to go, and nobody ever got a hold of me. Therefore, I had to go reach out and find a home. And that's how I ended up with the San Jose Regiment. And this was 2005. And I was told by the RC at the time that there was no jumping from regiment to regiment. If I'm staying, then I'm going to have to stay for good. In other words, he remembered when I was working under Salinas. You know what I'm saying? And doing my thing out there in San Jose. The difference I felt, though, between the two regiments was this. I felt that the San Jose Regiment was letting certain things slide that they shouldn't have been letting slide. Salinas was, at the early stages when I was plugged in with them, but they were able to grow because they weren't letting shit slide, and they were out there making their presence known, and their crews and everybody fell and file. You had to earn your position. And see, that was the difference between I seen San Jose and Salinas was some dudes didn't earn their position. San Jose wanted to pretty much, hide and let certain things slide, and certain things weren't being reported or accounted for. And I know that's one of the main reasons why they were fighting with Pocky when Pocky tried to take over the San Jose Regiment at that time. There was more stepping on toes and more distrust, and everybody was all smiling in each other's faces, right? But everybody was trying to backdoor the next man. And that's just the honest truth. I did good because I brought money, I brought different ventures. We started some, businesses and whatnot, and there was always something that I brought forth is why, a lot of individuals would fuck with me. But it was a little bit different as opposed to Salinas and San Jose. I like the more, protocol and, mandates and all the set procedures to go to where everything's all, on an equal playing field. There was too many individuals out there that were hating on each other. And so that's what I know is the difference between San Jose and Salinas. Salas didn't have enough time to hate on each other. It was all business. San Jose, it was more people out for themselves. And to be honest with you, the initial stages of the state and federal conflict, right, it's basically started right there. San Jose and Salinas. Right is right, wrong is wrong. And there was a lot of stuff that was going on that was completely wrong in San Jose. Including the situation that led to my demise. If I would have been under Salinas, I have no doubt that shit would have been taken care of the way it was supposed to be taken care of. And I probably would have still be active or crossed up doing life or whatnot right now. You know what I'm saying? But everything happens for a reason. Like I said, San Jose had that more, if they could sweep it under the rug, if it was going to benefit them, they would. A lot of people were reaching positions of, influence that didn't deserve it. And then you had certain individuals that were stepping out that had never functioned, but yet they had status, yet they were fucking shit up for everybody, but everybody had to fucking pretty much sit there and allow it to happen or take a back seat to it. All the contradictions and negative things I experienced in San Jose as far as working with the regiment. Doesn't mean that I didn't like some of the brothers, right? But there were certain things where it was just like I was told, just sometimes it has to be that way. Favoritism. It just is what it is. You had the BRS and BES, BML incident that was led by someone from Capitol Park, man. Where a homeboy got stabbed. Then you had the regiment trying to press up and cross up the Bob. You know what I'm saying? And then you had the issue with Bonmas, which was the second time they had issues with Bonmas, but this time was over someone saying fuck Norte. And they were trying to push those issues on those hoods, man, pretty much. And then Ojo Grande, you had Carnales involving themselves in hood business and even partaking in disciplines and shit, jumping in. To where it almost had like a split within Grande for a minute. Because half of them were working with Lencho and the other half were just, questioning what was going on. Then you had Lencho out there making excuses to rob certain homeboys, right? And everybody was turning a blind eye. I mean, he did it to the homeboy, pulling from Milpitas. He tried to do that with Mikey Stryker, and that's when I intervened, saying that Mikey Stryker was fucking with me and made Lencho back on up. But there was a lot of dudes that fell victim to fucking Lencho trying to be a bully based upon his status. And that wasn't the case of what was going on in Salinas. People wanted to fuck with the cats that were out there like Pocky and Bubba and Powder because of the way they handled their shit. Wino as well. Their reputations were, solid, I mean, the RSD and RC for my regiment at that time, man, we were generating a lot. We were money makers, and I was supposed to take over the RSD position. But what was going on is the RSD at that time had to pretty much concede to anything that fucking Lencho or, Sammy or one of those cats had to say because of fucking ranking. So based upon Lencho's leadership, I always felt that San Jose was pretty much weakened. It was pretty much falling apart, and there was a lot of disarray and there was a lot of conflict out there in the streets, as opposed to Salinas was growing and just only got stronger. And I just noticed the difference in reporting to the cats from Salinas and, our conversations, as opposed to everything with San Jose was all about one individual all the time. I mean, I remember going to meet up with Powder. It would take about an hour for us to fucking get off the freeway, get on, and find a location where we're going to have our meetings, just to talk. He was that much about security. Or same thing with Wino and when I met Cyclone. The way we had to, in and out of traffic and be incognito and all that, the security was there. San Jose, it wasn't there at all. And there was a lot of poor investigating in San Jose and a lot of, like I said, favoritism, And that's why a lot of people fell off, or there was a lot of people who had issues with certain individuals, Like I said, Mary, two different regiments, very well known as far as, their place in NF history. But both sides had good and bad, right? But the thing is there wasn't no room for certain errors or certain type of fucking greed or certain type of fucking mishaps on the Salinas side, and that's what I preferred. You earned what you put in. No one was gonna sit there and pretty much belittle you for the efforts that you did, as long as you fell for the confines of your responsibilities. San Jose, you could be busting your ass and establishing a lot of shit, and people would want it for themselves, or they'd want to take credit, or they'd try to go backdoor you, or take your manpower, or this and that, all kinds of crazy shit, man. There was no true unity, and that's where you learned to buy the money that you make is how much they value you. Anyhow, this is just my personal opinion from my experience. Like I said, I worked with both areas for a long time, and even when I was with the San Jose Regiment, I was still doing some business dealings with people that were part of the Salinas Regiment, and that became an issue. Someone tried to push a line about that, push the envelope, and tried to pretty much get me crossed up, and tried to end my career based upon it, out there on the streets, because they were fucking jealous of the things I was doing. And that's the thing, there was more jealousy in the San Jose side. People just felt that everything should be coming to them because of who they were, what they went through in prison, or what they became, and it doesn't work that way. The streets is different. You gotta learn how to wiggle and politic on a whole different level. Hope you guys enjoyed this spill. It's your boy Flacco. I'm a little late dropping this, man, but I had some things to attend to, man. And I've been working on this one all day. That's it. I'm gone.